Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got a gripping story for you about love, betrayal, and the harsh reality of uncovering a painful truth. So, sit back, grab some popcorn, and let's dive right in. I never thought I'd be the one telling this story. It feels surreal, like I'm living someone else's nightmare. But here I am, recounting the events that shattered my world. It all started innocently enough. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for 7 years. We had our ups and downs, like any couple, but I always believed we were solid. We shared dreams, laughter, and a bond that I thought was unbreakable. One evening, I came home from work earlier than usual. The house was unusually quiet, and I noticed Emily's car wasn't in the driveway. I didn't think much of it at first. She often ran errands or visited friends, but something felt off. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I decided to tidy up the house while waiting for her. As I was putting away some laundry, I noticed her phone on the bed. It buzzed with a new message, and curiosity got the better of me. I glanced at the screen and saw a name I didn't recognize. Mark. The message read, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Miss you already." My heart sank. I felt a cold wave of dread wash over me. Who was Mark? And why was he sending my wife such intimate messages? I knew I shouldn't invade her privacy, but I couldn't stop myself. I opened the message thread and began reading. The more I read, the more my world crumbled. The messages were filled with affection, plans for secret meetings, and confessions of love. It was clear that Emily had been seeing Mark for months. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. How could she do this to us? To me? When Emily finally came home, I confronted her. She tried to deny it at first, but the evidence was undeniable. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed. She told me she had felt neglected, that our relationship had lost its spark, and that Mark had made her feel alive again. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that the woman I loved, the woman I had vowed to spend my life with, had betrayed me so deeply. We argued, cried, and tried to make sense of the mess our lives had become. In the days that followed, I felt like a ghost in my own home. Every corner of our house reminded me of the love we once shared and the lies that had torn it apart. I started noticing things I had overlooked before: late-night phone calls, unexplained absences, and a growing emotional distance. It was as if the betrayal had always been there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to be discovered. I sought solace in my work, throwing myself into projects and tasks to distract from the pain. But no matter how busy I kept myself, the ache in my chest wouldn't go away. Friends and family noticed the change in me, but I couldn't bring myself to share the full extent of my heartache. It felt too raw, too personal. One evening, as I sat alone in the living room, I decided to revisit the messages between Emily and Mark. I needed to understand what had led her to this point. As I read through their conversations, I began to piece together the timeline of their affair. It had started innocently enough: friendly banter, shared interests, and then, gradually, it had evolved into something more. Mark was everything I wasn't: spontaneous, adventurous, and seemingly free of responsibilities. He offered Emily an escape from the mundane routines of our married life. I realized that, in many ways, I had taken her for granted. I had become complacent, assuming that our love was unshakable, that it didn't require constant effort and attention. In the weeks that followed, Emily and I attended couples therapy in a desperate attempt to salvage our marriage. The sessions were emotionally draining, forcing us to confront the deep-rooted issues that had driven us apart. We talked about our fears, our insecurities, and the growing void that had been filled by Mark's presence. Our therapist, Dr. Lawson, was a kind and empathetic woman who guided us through the difficult conversations. She encouraged us to be honest with each other, to express our pain and anger without holding back. There were moments of breakthrough, when I felt a glimmer of hope that we might be able to rebuild what was broken. But there were also moments of despair, when the weight of betrayal felt too heavy to bear. I would see Emily in the kitchen, making dinner, and all I could think about was the messages she had exchanged with Mark. The image of her laughing at something he had said haunted me, a constant reminder of the love and trust that had been shattered. Despite our efforts, it became clear that the damage was too deep. Trust, once broken, is incredibly hard to rebuild. Emily's affair had created a chasm between us that no amount of therapy could bridge. We both knew that continuing to stay together would only prolong the pain. We made the difficult decision to separate. It was a mutual understanding that our marriage, as much as we had wanted it to survive, couldn't withstand the betrayal. We sat down and had a heart-to-heart conversation, acknowledging the love we had shared and the memories we had created. There were tears, apologies, and a profound sense of loss. Emily moved out a few weeks later. As she packed her belongings, I couldn't help but feel a sense of finality. This was the end of an era, the closing chapter of a story I had once thought would last a lifetime. Watching her leave was one of the hardest things I had ever done, but it was necessary for both of us to find our own paths to healing. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I surrounded myself with supportive friends and family who helped me navigate the turbulent emotions. I took up new hobbies, traveled to places I had always wanted to visit, and gradually started to rediscover who I was outside of our marriage. There were moments of darkness, of course, nights when I would lie awake, replaying the events in my mind, wondering if there was something I could have done differently. But there were also moments of light, when I felt a renewed sense of hope and possibility. Healing is a slow and arduous journey, and there are no shortcuts. But with time, I began to see the betrayal not just as an ending, but as a catalyst for growth. It forced me to confront my own shortcomings, to understand the importance of nurturing relationships, and to never take love for granted. Thank you for watching and sharing this emotional journey with me. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell icon so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation together. Until next time, take care